food rotation diet. Now you'll come up against this if you have dealing with people who have got, it's on page 7 in your info book, if you've got people who are got food intolerance issues, right? And it's actually, and also, I mean, someone's got really, really weak immune system. This actually is sometimes quite a sensible option. Probably easier to manage in some respects. And basically, it's you would only eat a certain food or once every 4 days is the basic bottom line. So in other words, you know, you wouldn't be having bread every day, or you wouldn't be having bread and pasta or anything. You'd have them once every 4 days. So you basically have about 4 or 5 days of things that you'd rotate. Now, it's useful when you know that you have got a slight intolerance to something, because it then means the body doesn't get overloaded. But also, if there's a question about whether you've got an intolerance to something, if you leave it 3 days and eat it again, if you have got a problem, you'll find out about it. Because the trouble is that sometimes it's difficult to isolate. You've got to bear in mind that not everybody's going to have kinesiology skills or dowsing skills to be able to isolate certain things. And this is one way that they can be isolated, is to look actually at a rotation diet. And it can be very good when people need to be in the driving seat a certain amount themselves. You know, and if you're trying to give your power back to your client, in other words, if they come and try and load everything on you. I mean, I think I said to you, over the years I've dealt a lot with organophosphate poisoning cases, and I've still got one lad that I see him about every 6 months. He comes from like an MOT sort of check, and no question, organophosphate poisoning, and like with a lot of this, it goes for the guts. And with him, what happens is that the peristalsis stops, so literally solid. And one of the other things, again, that's very common, he started getting what of course they thought it originally was food allergies. It became very apparent as I started working with they were actually intolerances. And he'd been all over the place. He can't cope with people treating him homeopathically. And although he had a really, really good GP who sent him off to the Breakspear Hospital to get desensitised for certain foods, because he can't process homeopathics, which if people's prana is very low. You see, to work with homeopathics, the body's got to be able to meet the energy of the homeopathic or be bigger than it. Well, if someone, this happens with chronic fatigue as well, if someone's prana level is very, very low, but they can't meet the transformational quality of the energy of the homeopathic. So what happens is, you know what it's like, take homeopathic, you get a reaction. They'll get a reaction and the reaction doesn't go away. In other words, the reaction isn't followed by amelioration, like would happen with most people. And of course, this is a sort of semi-orthodox way of dealing with a lot of, and of course there's been some stuff about it recently as well, dealing with allergies and intolerances this way, is to actually do it in a homeopathic-like way. Which is fine if the person's got enough prana. But if they don't have enough prana to transform the homeopathic, then it just makes them ill. And he was in this situation, and I said it's very common with organophosphate and some chronic fatigue that there wasn't the energy. So he'd been to Breakspear and he was in the worst state when he came back. So the question then was, okay, and of course he felt completely powerless. You know, from what he could see, they tried everything. They sent him off to Southampton, and Julie and Kenyon used to work in Southampton. Very good about dealing with these sorts of cases. And they actually found him some really good vitamin and mineral supplements and found them at BioCares. And they also had him periodically on their very strong probiotic. I mean, really. It's fortunately it's a bit cheaper now than it used to be. It used to be about 70 quid, it's about 35 quid now for 7 sachets. And that used to help him, but it would only keep him going for so long. So by the time he came to me, he was obviously very disenchanted about the whole thing, the whole process. But he had found that if he ate chocolate, a little piece of chocolate, all this would stop. All the solidity of the peristalsis would stop, and things would work for a day or two, and then they'd all climb up again. So after a long talk, I got him into saying, look, you've got to be the scientist. Mm-hmm. You've got to be the person that watches what you eat and sees what clogs up the system. If it gets clogged, you can eat some chocolate and it'll unclog it. But you have to do this for yourself. You've got to play the investigator. Mm-hmm. And eventually he got himself on to a 5-day rotation diet. And he hasn't lost any more weight, which was good because it was losing weight like scary. And he has now his chocolate as emergency, and his double emergency is Puritan syrup if he's really bad. Mm-hmm. And he's found now he can go out to eat because he's now learnt, if he has wheat when he's out, then he mustn't touch it for 5 days, or he'll be back in again. But it's when you get something really awful or difficult there, you have to give them the power as much as you can, so that they have got control over their lives.
So is there no long-term solution for this organophosphate?
Well, what happens with OP is it tends to eventually... he's been detoxing it through his skin, because there's only 3 ways it's going to come off: sick it out, pee it off, it's going to come out through your skin. There's only 3 ways you're going to get rid of the toxin. And his body decided the skin was the way. And occasionally he gets a layer on the skin. It's really weird. And it's and it obviously washes off. And he gets times when it doesn't happen, times when it does. And when it does happen, he said he can actually feel his body detoxing. It's like his body knows it needs to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah. Maybe it gets to a certain
level. And then it thinks, I can let go now. I can let go now. And he's actually, I've been indexing it over the time that I've been seeing him. And he's actually at the point now that a little bit longer and his body will actually find its balance. Really, really low on magnesium, horrendously low on magnesium. And again, we've got him to do that for himself. He can take magnesium powder, so they do capsules, so he takes the capsule part, throws the capsule away, and he has the powder on food. But it's been a long haul, but it's been really important to get him to be able to manage it himself.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. I might tie into something in this afternoon.
Yeah.
Prana.
Yeah.
So if they're low on prana, can you do up their prana, or even if you did that, their body just wouldn't hold it?
What I found helps the prana levels is flower. For those particular people who can't do homeopathic, so flower essences work okay. Right. Essences, herbs. It's got to be food state, basically, because of course essences are on a level with foods. They're not energetically charged up.
So stick him in a prana tank or something like that. It's got to come in as food.
It's got to come in through the body, and it's got to come in slowly over a long period, and very, very gradually. He's picked up from energy levels that were running at about 50% of what they should be.
So it's good chronic foods that they can handle.
And that they can handle and they can digest. Yeah. And he's at about 88% now, so he's come up a long way.
So it's flower essence, it's herbs, it's possibility.
It's nutrition, and it's slowly.
Okay. So these organophosphates, is this where they dip sheep and that kind of thing?
Yeah. Because they virtually stopped that now. But all the cases I had a chap in the village here, I had a couple of kiddies from the village over there. Sure. This one is from Dorset, and he funny enough, he knows the bloke who lives next door to me. And yes, they had him massive. And he said he was when he was 17, 18, and he was a strapping bloke, and I'm not going to have any problem, and dipped something like 60 sheep in one day.
Do you think what it means that's got in the food chain as well?
Not as much now. They've changed it, but there is a certain amount of OP, and they reckon there was somebody near Oakhampton that reckoned this is why we've got bovine TB. It's because the immune systems of the cattle have dropped because of the OPs on the grass.
Next question. This came up in HK from a nutritionist.
Yeah.
She's saying that from a pranic point of view, you have to look at the supplements, and some had prana and some had no prana
Yes.
whatsoever.
Yes.
So just getting the supplement may not actually...
No, you have to watch whose.
Right.
And basically...
So how do you test whether it's pranically rich or pranically...
Well, the thing to do, first of all, I mean, there are ways, I'll show you this afternoon, the ways
Okay.
that you can actually work out whether that particular one will work.
Yeah.
Basically, BioCare is very good, Solgar is very good.
Right.
Liquid stuff like these are very good. Some of Lambert's are very good,
Right.
by and large. There are some other companies that don't feel right.
Right.
That's what I was about to say. I think you can kind of...
Like metabolics. That's
you
what
can,
mine is.
Yeah, they're okay, yeah. But
you can sense it.
you
Yeah.
can sense that there are some that you can buy in the high street.
Oh, stuff
That,
like
that, you know, that you think, you go and pick it up and you think, there's nothing here.
Yes. Yeah.
So they would
So-
maybe work for somebody who had a lot of prana.
Oh yeah, and this is the thing.
Yeah.
If Joe blogs with his sort of, bullish prana and robust digestive system, and you're on Joe blogs, who's,
Right.
there's a few things, yes, that are on the telly.
Yeah.
Won't mention their trade names, but yes, that even Joe blogs with rampant prana and whatever is may not digest unless they're crushed up. But yeah, but it's like but if someone's prana is already compromised, their immune system is already compromised, then boy, you've got to be very careful what you suggest.
So even giving them theoretically the right thing.
It might not be in exactly the right form.
Right. Okay.
And it's a bit like the difference on a flower essence between using something that is a real flower essence and using something that someone's cooked up the wrong way.
Yeah.
There are a few companies out there that's a bit suspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can tell the difference straight away, just pick it up.
Yeah. Because like I said, this nutritionist, she was saying you've got to be so careful
Yeah.
nowadays.
And I mean, certainly I found with my experience things like Cytoplan, Metabolics, Celloids, BioCare, Solgar, fine. Lambert's
Write this
one,
down.
yeah.
What was it?
So you've got
Lambert's.
you've got them in the back of one of your maybe not this one, maybe next week's.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So Lambert's, BioCare, Cytoplan, Solgar I haven't given you because they're available in Holland and Barrett. And Metabolics and Celloids are both quite good because they tend to be food state or at a not messed around with.
Okay.
But some. Yes.
For the purposes of anybody who might not be listening that's not in the United Kingdom,
Yes.
would they be available online or?
Oh yes, and I think the thing is, if what you would look for is you'd look for a company whose energy that you feel comfortable with.
Right.
I think that's the main thing, and particularly if you're like in place like you've got access to drugstores, like American style drugstores. You just need to walk in and just look what's on the shelf.
Right.
And you'll find that you'll be things you'll be drawn to, and other things you'll think, no way.
Yeah. And could you have your client in mind if you were doing that as well?
Yeah. Or you could give your client the choice, because sometimes the client's energy is very, it's like if there are 2 or 3 brands, you say, well, such and such a shop has got these brands, this one, this one, and this one. Go and have a look and see which one you're drawn to. Again, give them the power, because there are some people whose systems do like stuff that other people's systems don't. Like I said, I'm just used to dealing with so many people where their immune system was really rather seriously compromised.
That explains why I didn't respond when I was very ill originally to homeopathy.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, I had a lot of people. It took me a while to twig what was going on.
So that would also explain why, if you're doing a scientific study on homeopathy,
Why it doesn't work.
for some people.
For some people, yeah, because
It's different now. It works all right fine on me now.
Yeah,
It didn't.
but it's to do with that. It was. I first spotted it when I was working with the ME people in the early 90s. I couldn't work out why some people were okay with some of the homeopathic stuff and some people weren't. Even with the complex homeopathic stuff, which is by and large a lot softer and less confrontational. And it was, in fact, actually, what happened was I looked at the chart from a medical astrology point of view. It was me and a homeopath working together, and she said, I got the right remedy, I know I did. And I looked at the chart and thought, yeah, she got the right remedy. And it was, okay, so what's going on here? And then we sort of suddenly realised what was happening. It was, okay, so if we can't do homeopathic, then let's make a flower essence out of that thing. No problem. And then I know the difference between homeopathic and flower essences, all to do, because homeopathics are very yang, because they've been succussed. They're very, very energetic, whereas her flower essence is just straight dilution. There's no extra energy, and that's so therefore much easier for some people to work with.
There's a friend of mine, she's very, very sensitive, and she uses flower essences all the time.
Yeah, and it's because they're easy for the bodies to work with, and also they give the body a sort of choice. You know, it's like if teenagers are very good at ignoring flower remedies, but you give an ordinary teenager a homeopathic, and they'll react. And if it's they will prove it for you.
So gem essences, where would they fit in?
They're fine. They're at the same level of flower essences.
Okay,
they work just. They're fine.
What's percussion?
Succussion.
That's
what they do in homeopathy. Which
that's the yarn energy coming in.
It gives it very, very powerful. And of course, the higher the potency you've got, the more and more and more it's been diluted and sequentially diluted and succussed. So the more energy it has. So it's like that's why a 6 or a 30 potency is sort of quite normal. But if you go to a homeopath and they start giving you a 200, or they give you a 50M or something, then you're talking about something that is really like a little energetic bomb. Okay. And you've got to have quite a lot of prana in you to be able to transform that energetic bomb, because it, like at 50M, it's going to go right into the subtle layers of your body.
But sometimes for a teenager, you need that to get attention.
Yeah. I mean, with any teenagers, anybody can't really block homeopathy unless they haven't got enough prana. But you can block flower essences. So the wrong flower essences won't do anything, or the wrong gem essence won't do anything. It's the right one. The body thinks, oh yeah, I can do this. It's not going to take me a lot of energy, because it's the same vibe that I am. But homeopathics aren't. So if you gave somebody who didn't have measles, a homeopathic measles, or say you jab against measles homeopathically, they might have a little sort of measles session. And that's how you vaccinate homeopathically. That's if your homeopathic pharmacy is willing to sell you homeopathic. That's how my kids got vaccinated. So my daughter didn't get a jab until she had the rubella one at 16. And that was only because her friends said they wouldn't speak to her unless she had it done. It was the first injection she ever had. Peer groups, a lot to answer for. So most food rotation diet are basically, and I think the other thing that I've mentioned here, I think we'll do after lunch when we talk about allergies and things. I think we did talk about it once before.